How's it going, everyone? Taki here. It's been a while since I've added a new entry to my Should You Buy It series, but that all changes today. In episode 7, we're going to take a look at the new RG552 to see if it's worth your hard-earned money. Before we get started, I just want to leave a reminder here that you can support my work on videos like this by subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on this video. It really helps out the channel more than anything else, and it means a lot. The 552 is Anbernic's latest handheld, and it's their first handheld that I would consider to be in the premium price range. For me, the premium price range starts at anything over $200. With the exception of one device, this is the threshold that I use for videos in this series. This device launched earlier in the week, and I've been testing it now for several weeks, so I feel confident enough to make a video like this for all of you. The RG552 is essentially two products in one, so we're going to look at this product holistically in this video. I have separate first impression videos on Linux and Android linked on screen now that you can watch if you want more information. Let's go over the specs that are on offer. The RG552 comes with an RK3399 processor and a Mali T860 MP4 GPU. It has 4GB of LPDDR4 RAM, 64GB of eMMC 5.1 storage, dual 3200 mAh batteries, a 5.36-inch IPS display with a resolution of 1920 by 1152, and 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi. Currently, there are no other RK3399 handhelds on the market, but there are other mobile devices and SBCs using this processor that we can examine to get some pricing information on this set of hardware. The first product is the Pinebook Pro laptop that went on sale in 2019 for around $200. It shares almost all of the specs of the RG552, with the difference being that it has 5 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, and eMMC 5.0 storage. The next device is the PinePhone Pro, which uses an RK3399 clocked at 1.5 GHz. It has 128 GB of eMMC storage, a lower resolution 6-inch IPS display, 5 GHz Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth 4.1. That device retails for around $400. The last product is the Rock Pro 64 4GB version. This has no eMMC or wireless for the base product, and it sells for around $80. There are other products that also use the RK3399, but if we only use this list of products, it is reasonable to expect that the RG552 should live within this price range. If we take the RG552 and compare it against other handhelds in this generation that have already shipped or are available to buy, we get the following picture. On the lowest end, we have the RP2 Plus with a T310 CPU, 2 GB of RAM, 5 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, a 3.5-inch display, and Android 9 for $100. Up from this in terms of price, we have the Max 2 with an RK3326 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, a 5-inch display, and a Linux OS for $125. Next, we have the RG551 MP with an RK3326 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, no internal Wi-Fi, a 3.5-inch display, and a Linux OS for $146. Up from here, we have the X18S with a T860 CPU, 4 GB of RAM, 5 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, a 5.5-inch display, and Android 11 for $172. Up from here, we have the Udon Lite with the D900 processor, 4 GB of RAM, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, a 6-inch IPS display, and Android 11 for $199. And the last device that I care to mention on this list is the Udon Base with 4 GB of RAM, 5 GHz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, a 6-inch IPS display, and Android 10 for $240. If we add the RG552 to this list, we can see that it sits between both Udon devices. You might be asking yourself several questions right now, and one of them might be, what does the RG552 offer to help justify its cost in comparison to these other devices? If we exclude the RK3326 devices, the biggest one for a lot of people will be the fact that this can run a Linux OS in combination with an Android one. There's only one other device on this list that has mainline support for a Linux distro, but it hasn't shipped yet, so that is the void that the RG552 fills. The Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, Udon Lite, and the X18S have no usable Linux support at this point and probably never will. Now, I've already looked at the Linux support on the RG552 and found it to be severely lacking, but it's not lacking in people that want to develop for it, and that is the most important thing. While I might not use this over the Android OS for gaming, I am the type of masochist that would use this dual boot functionality to run a full-fledged mobile Linux desktop. The active cooling, dual USBs, Ethernet over Type-C support, and HDMI functionality make this a reasonable option for this device. The Android system on the RG552 is better than the Linux system at this point, but I don't know how many people will want to develop for it compared to the Linux system. Right now, it is lacking Google Play support, custom fan curves, and a modern Android release. It's locked out of popular emulators like the EtherSX2 emulator due to Android 7, and it will probably miss out on other apps and games going forward. What it does have is decent support for systems that did not run well on handhelds before recently. For those that like to really make a device their own, it has root support over ADB, and it can be configured with beautiful front-end themes that can rival the ones on the Linux side if you're willing to put in the small amount of work to get things going. Here I have Pegasus running on the RG552, after about 30 minutes of work to configure this theme and gather the artwork for my ROMs. I can use this as my default launcher in Android, and the system flows similarly to how it does on Linux. The RG552 is the only product that is released with a 5:3 aspect ratio screen thus far. As I've already mentioned, this is one of the better panels on the market right now. It has good brightness, color temperature, viewing angles, and saturation. More than anything, however, it has an aspect ratio that lends itself very well as a general all-purpose product. It can natively scale 16:9, 4:3, and 3:2 games with minimal wasted space, or it can stretch those games to use the entire panel with minimal distortion. If you want a device with a large, high-resolution screen that doesn't have any major drawbacks, you really only have the RG552 and the Udons to choose from. The key point here, at least at the date this video is being published, is that the RG552 is the only one of those devices that is currently shipping. If there is one area where the RG devices have been lacking, it is in their wireless functionality. This was not a big problem when our screen sizes were small and we were locked to Linux, but now that we are able to run Android on a big device like this, not having 5 GHz Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support for wireless audio or controllers really hurts. I don't know why something like this wasn't added to the device, because it would have made the product a lot better, but the current theory is that 5 GHz Wi-Fi is not supported in the Linux firmware that Anbernic is using in the 552. You do have the ability to use a wireless dongle, but doing so means that you also have to increase your cost of entry for this device. As it stands, the RG552 is not terribly useful for game streaming versus just using something like your phone. The people that are watching this video have probably already owned an RG device or have some familiarity with how people view the build quality on Anbernic devices. The controls on the RG552 are easy to use and responsive. If I had to find a fault with the RG552, it's that its design has not really changed over the last 2 years. It can be difficult to try something new when you have found something that works, but the design is starting to age, and I find myself wishing that Anbernic would use stacked shoulder buttons like the ones on the Max 2. One of the biggest things that you'll notice while using this device is that it has a fan that is always on. On its lowest setting, this is not really distracting, but it is a real shame to not have the ability to manually choose your own fan speed like you can on other devices in this generation. In busy places or loud areas, the auto setting is not noticeable over the ambient sound, but it is a problem if you tend to play games at night while laying in bed. The fan noise really ruins the experience, and it will probably wake up anybody that's sleeping near you. Things are not all bad though. The cooling system is able to easily handle the heat generated from this aging processor, even under extreme loads. This means you won't have to worry about being a heatsink for your handheld. The next biggest thing that you'll notice is that this device consumes a lot of power. Typical gaming loads will use between 6 and 11 watts of power, which will eat away at your battery life. The silver lining here is that Anbernic was smart enough to use a dual battery in this device. That means we have faster charging speeds than any device in this generation. From 0%, you can completely charge this device back to 100% in around an hour and 40 minutes. Even under the highest power consumption scenarios, you can still get more gameplay out than it takes to charge your device, which is not something that we can say about every handheld that's been released in 2021. Compared to other devices in this generation that have been released or are about to release, the RG552 has a tough time keeping up with the pack. It has the ability to upscale PS1, as well as use more demanding SNES cores. Compared to Anbernic's own products, it has significantly better Dreamcast and N64 performance under Android, as well as better Nintendo DS performance that is easier to enjoy now that we have a touchscreen. Sega Saturn's performance has also increased, as well as PSP. There are still PSP games that are too demanding on the RG552 that can run well on other devices in this generation, but this is still an improvement over the RK3326. Under Android, the RG552 can also play some GameCube games, but performance will vary from game to game, and you'll have to deal with graphical issues that are not a problem on other devices. As mentioned previously, being locked to Android 7 means that we do not have the ability to use the new PS2 emulator, even though we have all the other requirements with this device. It is one of the notable omissions on this product, and something that I'm waiting to test if this device gets a newer Android port. That leaves us with the ultimate question of whether or not you should buy this product. Every individual has their own unique needs and requirements, so I hope that you can answer that question for yourself based on what you've seen in this video and the other two that I mentioned earlier. I think there are a lot of people waiting on the sidelines, hoping that this price will drop so it's more competitive against other devices in this generation. Coming out with a price of over $220 is a bold move given all that the RG552 is, but it still remains to be seen if and or how far that price will drop over time. If you still have any questions about the RG552 that I did not address here, leave them down below and I'll try my best to get back to you. There are links to this product in the description box below if you want to buy one for yourself. Happy gaming everyone. Taki out.